Clubhouse. 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 Thank you. Clubhouse. Clubhouse. Thank you. Clubhouse. 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 Clubhouse.
Thank you.
Lordy, Lou. My God. The laptop broke down a couple of times when I was making this episode, so I had to delete an entire half hour because the audio was messed up. Really broke my heart. I just want to make this episode about the discussion that was started by Citizen X888. And by the way, let me shout out Citizen X888 and his name. 888. That's super duper lucky. I was born on the 18th of August 1988. So my birth date in just straight numbers, depending on the format, is 18088. It's kind of cool. Super duper lucky. And I believe this year is the year of the dragon as well, which is super lucky for me. Citizen X888 said that I shouldn't make any business decisions at all. And that I shouldn't make any business decisions for many, many years. Well, firstly, I don't agree that it should be for many, many years, but no, I'm certainly not in any position to make any business decisions. Why on earth would he believe that I would want to make any business decisions? I don't talk about business. At least I haven't spoken about business lately in relation to... I haven't spoken about business at all, I don't think, actually. Yeah, I've made proposals on Facebook about Kukumajira and what should be done. But that's just a suggestion based on my visit to Kukumajira, but I certainly don't think that the family should make a business decision about a 40-year-old property based on a Facebook post of someone going through a manic episode. I really hope that that's not what my family thinks I'm doing, because that's just ghastly. My God, I made that proposal as a gesture, as an olive branch. Lordy Lou, do you think that my family really... I hope they didn't think that I wanted to, do that straight away? So soon after such a close family member and friend passed away? Lordy Lou, I hope not. But either way, I suppose I'm just projecting. Citizen X888. Love your name, by the way. The post that I made in relation to Kukumajira was just a little bit of fun that I was having, Just so you know, business proposals, that wasn't even a business proposal. That was just a bloody fantasy that I wanted to share with my father because he just thought it was a throwaway property. It's like, dude, it's not a throwaway property. Keep it. It's got good legs. It's got great bones. It's got great karma. My God. I hope that that's not the impression that I gave them. And you know what? If I did give them that impression, then that's on them. They haven't spoken to me. So all they have is assumptions, essentially, which is why a mediation is so crucial at this point, I think, because there's just a lot of misinformation being spread and a lot of assumptions being made by, I don't even want to say bad actors, but just confused men and women, let's say. A mediation isn't a business thing. at all, really. It's a mediation isn't a business specific thing. Mediations are just a way for people that have disagreements to come to the table and resolve those disagreements if there's a significant breakdown in their relationship. There's such a thing as family mediation. There's mediation between married couples. There's mediations between priests. Yeah, there's mediations between pets. Now I'm being silly. There's mediations, uh, between criminals and their victims, for gosh sakes. I want to have a family mediation at a church, either St. Charbel's Parish Punch Bowl or Our Lady of Lebanon in Harris Park. And the purpose of the mediation is for our entire family to discuss all the things that I've been posting about and making podcasts about. The subject matter of the podcasts are influenced by the things going around. And at the moment, there's a lot of misinformation being spread about me. Like, for example, I want to have a meeting about business decisions. Lordy, lordy, loo. And my father refuses to speak to me. See, because that doesn't capture the issue. Because he does speak to me. Because my father refuses to speak to me on my terms. It has to be his terms. And I'm not even too sure what his terms are. It's basically something along the lines of affirming him as a good moral person when I know that's not true. See, what's happening with me at the moment is a direct result of a lack of communication between the people that have directly harmed me. My Uncle Charlie, my father Majid Saeed Toke, and my uncle Maroon Saeed Toke. And to be honest, I'm not concerned about his sons. I don't have any thing to say to them. It's always been an issue that I've had with my Uncle Maroon for the past year now. But it's not just about me. It's about my grandfather and my grandmother and protecting their legacy. It's not about protecting a property. It's about protecting their legacy. My father refuses to speak to my Uncle Charlie because he's afraid of what my Uncle Charlie has to say to him. My father doesn't realize how revealing it is to me that the only reason that he's given me for not speaking to Charlie is the fact that my Uncle Charlie has called him a junkie. My father is a junkie, and he needs to, prove to me otherwise. And a mediation would be perfect for that. But to me, he's still sending money to drug dealers, and he's still acting as if he's taken some sort of opioid, right? And given his past misdeeds, I have a right to some transparency in relation to that, because I'm his son after all, and I've been through hell because that man couldn't control his addiction. And so there's a lot that my father has to unpack, in relation to his misdeeds. And he needs to talk to my Uncle Charlie because he's obviously harmed my Uncle Charlie to such a significant extent that my Uncle Charlie has this lifelong vendetta against my father. And I can imagine why, simply because, my father did what he did. But the issue with Charlie is that he has done the same, if not more. Sorry, the same, if not more. The issue with Charlie is that he's been as harmful, if not more harmful, than my father. And he has to answer to Martami Rosa, my Uncle Maroon, uh, my Uncle Zuzu, my Uncle Tony. Oh, actually, everyone in the family. Hamti Nawal, Hamti Gada. Yeah, everyone. Everyone has a grievance with Charlie. Even my Auntie Gada, who thinks she doesn't, obviously has a grievance with him because I believe that my Uncle Charlie was part of the reason why she's here. And I think that that needs to be explored in a mediation. You know, that they have to discuss why it was that she made the decision to come here because there was a lot of things that she impacted by coming here, right? So Ami Zuzu no longer, had that house, right? And it was clear that Ami Tone wasn't allowed back in that house. And so who was the spare room for? Was that just for my father? And, if so, why does he get the spare room and not Ami Tone or Ami Zuzu? Because Ami Zuzu doesn't have a house anymore in Sydney because he's been deprived of a property, of a house that he owns just as much as Auntie Rada. And I find it unfair and unjust that she would just come to this country and basically just move in to a house that Ami Zuzu has lived in for years and years and years and basically just kick him out. And what about my brother? Right? You see, my brother never felt comfortable at Villiers Street because it was no longer Villiers Street. It was my Auntie Rada's house. And my brother, who was struggling with a significant mental health and substance abuse issue, was staying in a house full of judgmental, disgusting dogs and vipers. Sorry to say, but Auntie Rada's a horrible person to be around if you're vulnerable and if you're struggling. She will judge you and she will talk badly behind your back. She'll take those judgments and advertise them to everyone in the family. And she doesn't even realize that she's doing it because she hides her immorality and she hides her immorality behind her hospitality skills. It's okay. She cleans the house so she can be a horrible person to my brother. Lordy, lordy, Lou. She wasn't a horrible person to my brother. She just never made him feel comfortable. It was so cruel what my father and Uncle Charlie allowed to happen to that house. Yeah. I suppose they were unhappy with everyone's mental health struggles that Ami Sharbel and my father orchestrated. And they didn't like the embarrassment of their shame. So they brought someone with a good reputation over from Charri to make it seem like our family was good, which is just horrible, because what that meant is casting out my Uncle Tony, my brother, and my Uncle Zuzu. Because again, Ami Zuzu doesn't have a house to stay in Sydney. They cast out Ami Zuzu, Ami Tone, and my brother for my dad. And that shows the priorities of my family, It really is just an image, and it's disgusting. And I really, really am sick and tired of it, And I'm sick and tired of people thinking that I'm doing this because of some sort of silly vendetta or I have some sort of business proposal that I need to explore. And I really want to make this crystal clear. If I did have any business decisions to make, the last people in the world that I will discuss those business dealings with will be Ammi Zuzu, Ammi Sharbel, my dad, and Ammi Maroon. Right? It's just not what I'm about. My God, would that be ghastly? They know nothing of business. They're laborers and junkies and criminals, except Ammi Zuzu. But Ammi Zuzu, yeah, is just I wouldn't want to speak about business with someone like Ami Zuzu. To me, he's like the master MC of Australia and France. I don't want to talk about business with him. I want to talk about how I can help him with his struggles and how unlocking some of the family assets, turning those assets into liquid, will be good for the mental health struggles that he is experiencing currently. It's not business. A family trust isn't actually a business. They've turned it into an idea of a business. It never had to be this development thing. That's what I got wrong. That's what the family got wrong. It's not a business. Okay? The fact that there's a director in charge of my grandfather's assets and not, a loving son or the loving patriarch of the family is ghastly. That's the problem. I want to have a mediation about unraveling this whole business thing. So it could just be a property that gets rent. And how do we navigate that? How do we help each other with that? No talk of director, no talk of corporation, none of that stuff. That's what pained me and killed me. That is the square peg in the round hole, right? They're not a business. They're just brothers and sisters, for God's sakes. What was all this deal with Happy Lion, Pty Ltd, getting the rent from Redfern? Why couldn't it just be Charlie, right? Why couldn't it just be some account that everyone in the family had access to, let's just say? Or one person that the family elected, right? Not a business, but family communicating and talking to each other like human beings, like Christ intended, or maybe not, you know. I really do feel like a lot of the things that I say fall on deaf ears. I'll still say them though, because it makes me feel good and it gets some stuff off my chest. You have to consider how powerful a mediation is and how powerful words are. Words have the power to heal and words have the power to harm. And everyone in my family, all of my aunts and uncles on my father's side, have something to say to each other that they've been keeping to themselves or talking to other family members behind other family members' backs. And that has caused so much issues, so much rifts in the family, from petty children, from petty sons and daughters, sisters and brothers. My father refuses to speak to my uncle Charbel because my uncle Charbel called my father a junkie. And so I declare my father a junkie, me, his son, just to break this whole petty stupidity that he has. I am never speaking to Charlie again because he called me a junkie, and no one that calls me a junkie shall ever speak to me again. I have spoken to my father several times and said junkie and called him a junkie to his face. That's not my father's issue. My father's issue is that he refuses to confront all the harm that he's done. And he needs to confront all the harm that he's done because the list is far too long and there's far too many people that he's transgressed against. Uncle Charlie is definitely one of them. And my Uncle Charlie deserves to confront my father and to sort of let him have it verbally, but not aggressively, but just tell him, what the issue is. And I'm sure that a lot of what I've said to my father, my Uncle Charlie, would sort of agree with and concur with. But I'm sure he has his own specific idiosyncratic kind of issues that he has with my father. Perhaps it has to do with money. I don't know. But I think that having an opportunity to have your say, especially for someone like Charlie, to my father, is a great thing. And I don't know why my family keep insisting on pushing back against the idea of a mediation. They keep coming up with all these silly excuses, I guess. Business, my God, business decisions. Yuck. No, no, no business talk at all. From the heart talk, for God's sakes. Lordy, lordy, loo. And I bet you that my father's reading of those 5 points, those things that I wanted him to sort of agree to, was probably him thinking that, oh, it's Andrew doing business. No, you idiot. Sorry, but my father is an imbecile sometimes. No, Dad, that wasn't me trying to do business with you. That was me trying to protect you from yourself, because you're a liar and you lie about stuff, right? So you lie to me and say that the property is to build a duplex and to get a CDC, but you tell Auntie Rada that it's her property, or her son's property. Then you tell my brother that it's his property, and then you tell Frances that it's her property. And if you had the balls to speak to my mum, you'd probably say that it's her property as well. It's me protecting you from yourself, you idiot. You don't know what you're doing. Bro, you advertised the fact that you gave $50,000 to a drug dealer friend as some sort of like a gesture that you're doing the right thing, that you don't need money from me. Even at your best, you're the worst. You know what I mean? And I think a mediation will help, because I think you need to be confronted with all this sort of stuff by not just me, but Hami Maroon, Martami Rosa, Hami Zuzu, obviously. And you need to hear it, and you can't just keep running away. And by the way, this isn't to my dad as such, this is just to everyone. Like, people can't run away from their problems, especially when their problems involve their own family members, because you can't escape your family, right? And you can't lie, because the truth will always come out. The truth is written on the bones and the blood of the people around you, for God's sakes. Can't you see it in your own son? Dad, can't you see what you did to him? He can, right? But he can easily just switch that off. It's part of that bipolaring. It's part of that bipolar disorder. So essentially, a mediation is for the family to get all this sort of stuff off their chest, and they don't all have to be there in person. My Uncle Charlie doesn't have to be, but I'm sure that he'd want to be. My father can't, but he should be there via video link. But there should be someone there with my father, like in Qatar, making sure that he doesn't turn off the computer, right? Because that's the problem with my father, and that's the reason why he's in Qatar, because he's just a button away. You know what I mean? He could just disconnect with one button. That's why I lost so much respect for him when I came back from Sydney and I realized that he left to Qatar, because that just validated all of my thoughts about him. And here's the thing, once they're past all these petty grievances with each other, then they'll be able to just get back to normal. I really feel like the family's been on this downward spiral since my grandfather passed away. And for some strange reason, no one in my family has been able to sort of see that. But I've seen it clearly. And attempts to pretend like everything is fine, like building a duplex, obviously didn't heal anything, because look what happened as soon as it was built, right? And bear in mind, when it was built, there was a $700,000 loan that had to be repaid. A $700,000 loan, no, sorry, a $900,000 loan that had to be repaid, and a $900,000 loan for a build that cost like $600,000 max, right? And there were a lot of issues relating to that, right? And then look what happened when I became chief administrative officer. Look at all the carnage that was caused, right? But also look at all the positives. that happened as well. Amthi Nawaz's house may have been saved. I don't know, but Ami Zulzul's house was definitely saved. And they're driving a truck, for goodness sakes, that was purchased from um, funds from the estate. But it doesn't matter because in essence, it ripped the family apart, right? And it wasn't just me ripping the family apart. When I came in there, my uncle had already assaulted his ex-wife and his brother, right? And they basically like given Amitone, they cast Amitone out into the street for God's sakes. And what the hell were they supposed to do with my brother, right? Because he did not want to stay in Villiers Street. He wasn't comfortable there. And by the way, what was going to happen when my dad came back? Right? Let me guess, 15 Otto Street, right? Awesome. But then why did he spend all that money and make me spend all that money for that, for not to eventuate, for that not to eventuate? Like, why was he wasting my time? But you see, it's just family members making deals with other family members without consulting everyone else. And then just a hullabaloo being caused because no one respects each other. You know, it's just, hey, I made a deal with God that she's going to live in Villiers Street now. Screw off to anyone that disagrees. How disgusting and disrespectful is that to my Uncle Tony, my Ammi Zulzul, and my brother? Jesus Christ. And they never thought about that. It was just her home that she could just, cast anyone out from it that she saw fit. My Auntie Rada. What a horrible person she is. What a horrible person she turned out to be. But as long as she can make chicken and clean the house, I suppose that's all that matters. A mediation will be helpful. There's a lot of untapped potential in my family. And I think the only way for them to be the best versions of themselves is to relieve themselves of all this nasty, petty sort of stuff. Um, for each family member to come together, to have their say, and it might take multiple days, but just to get it done, get it out of the way, and they'll be really, really, really surprised at how light they'll feel after and how easier their interactions will be after that. It's not about business. It's about family. All right? Love you.